Long-term viewers of this channel, do you guys remember when I used to talk about the woke shovel? I think I created the term when I was discussing one of the many woke welfare collectors at the worldwide leader in woke, ESPN. They would charge someone with a violation of the woke commandments, then they would pick up the woke shovel and proceed to bury themselves. I guess former WNBA player Sheryl Swoopes. Well, KC, don't you mean WNBA legend Sheryl Swoops? No, I don't. I was actually being polite when I said former WNBA player. I could have used the proper description of WNBA dump diver, but after my rant this morning about the NBA, I'm kind of in the mood to be a little bit more respectful this afternoon. Now, just to be clear, there is no such thing as a legend in the WNBA dump. That doesn't mean I don't appreciate my trash collectors who pick up my garbage on Mondays and Thursdays, but just because you are proficient at dumping my trash into the back of a big truck, it doesn't mean you're a legend. But anyway, I guess former WNBA player Sheryl Swoopes has connections at ESPN. Not only did she borrow the woke shovel, she proceeded to use it to bury her career in the woke cemetery. Several weeks ago, the pooper swooper, she was a guest on Gilbert Arenas' podcast. For some reason, and I haven't quite figured this out yet, but for some reason, Gilbert, he was asking for Sheryl Swoopes' opinion on Caitlin Clark. Now, this was very confusing for a lot of viewers. People couldn't understand, myself included, why they would be asking what a former WNBA player thinks about a professional basketball player. Doesn't make sense, right? I mean, if Gilbert needed recommendations on the best tools to scoop up the gifts that his Doberman leaves in his backyard, Sheryl Swoopes would be the appropriate person to ask. If you wanted to know which garbage bags keep your trash smelling lemony fresh, I'd ask one of the employees of the WNBA. But if I'm looking for insight, if I'm looking for analysis and opinion on professional basketball, the last person I'm asking is a current or former player in the WNBA. What the hell could they tell me about professional basketball, besides the most creative way to airball free throws? Earlier this month, Gilbert Arenas, he asked Sheryl Swoopes about Katie Rue Clark. Now, this was around the time that Caitlin Clark was on the verge of setting the scoring record in professional basketball for women. If I remember correctly, the previous record, it was held by Kelsey Plum. Once she was forced to enter the WNBA dump, she became known as Kelsey the Plumber. During this interview with Gilbert Arenas, you could tell that Sheryl Swoopes was experiencing feelings of bitterness. I don't know if it was jealousy or maybe some level of resentment. You just got the feeling that Sheryl Swoopes was trying to downplay the significance of Caitlin Clark. Since she couldn't find anything negative to talk about, Sheryl Swoopes simply made shit up. It was a 2, maybe 3-minute soliloquy that was filled with nothing but lies and propaganda. Watch for yourself.
If you're going to break a record, to me, if it's legitimate, you have to break that record in the same amount of time that that player set it.
Okay.
Right? So if Kelsey Plum set that record in 4 years, well, Caitlin should have broke that record in 4 years. But because there's a COVID year and then there's another year, you know what I mean? So she's already had an extra year to break that record. So is it truly a broken record? There'll never be another COVID year.
COVID year. Well, there's
right?
never going to be probably another 5 or 6 years you can play in college sports. Yeah.
Once clips of this interview began circulating on social media, Sheryl the Swooper received immediate backlash. Obviously, she deserved it. I mean, you were literally making shit up with the sole purpose of tarnishing Caitlin Clark. What I didn't understand at the time was why Gilbert Arenas didn't receive any criticism. There was no resistance from Gilbert Arenas to what Sheryl Swoopes was saying. In my opinion, if you are interviewing someone and they are spreading false information, it's kind of your job to check them. Instead, Gilbert Arenas, he just sat there and giggled. You're a cute swooper when you're angry, Sherry. There was so much backlash and outrage towards Sheryl Swoopes that she was essentially forced to apologize to Caitlin Clark. Now, the apology wasn't public. It was a private text message exchange between Sherry and Katie. As you guys know, I'm normally not big on public apologies, but this was one of those very rare cases where kind of felt like a public apology was needed. I mean, you were making things up about her publicly. Why not admit it and apologize publicly? Now, to her credit, though, Sheryl Swoopes publicly admitted that she made a mistake. So, this story does have a happy ending, right? Everyone is happy, everyone moved on, right? Well, not exactly, but before we get into what happened yesterday, let's get to the sponsor for today's video, my good friends over at Ultimate Health and Wellness. As I have gotten older, especially as I've entered my late 30s, I've suddenly realized how important it is to exercise. I'm not talking about exercise trying to look like Roger Royd with the massive deltoids. Talking about exercise just to feel good every day, live a healthy life. Problem for me, I don't like going to the gym, which is why I have started using Ultimate Health and Wellness. Programs offered by Ultimate Health and Wellness, they're perfect for me because everything is online and I can use the program when it's convenient for me. They have this interesting workout series called the Billy Sticks. This particular exercise, it's a 6-part series, and the best part about it, the Billy Sticks are dual purpose. You can use them to exercise, and if you're into martial arts, the Billy Sticks are great for self-defense. Ultimate Health and Wellness offers over 200 workouts that are good for all ages and fitness levels. Most workouts are about 30 minutes in length, which is really all you need to live a healthy lifestyle. If you want to bulk up and add some extra muscle, there's 20 different categories offered that will work you into shape. And if you're looking for the personal touch, Ultimate Health and Wellness, they offer one-on-one training over the internet with a coach that's got over 20 years of experience. So, click the link in the description below. Use my promo code BTL20, BTL20. Receive 20% off your first purchase of the Billy Sticks program with Ultimate Health and Wellness. All right. Yesterday, Sheryl Swoopes, she was the guest with Gilbert Arenas. Again? Really? Is this the only show that's willing to book her? Is Sheryl Swoopes the only guest that Gilbert Arenas can get? Just like last time, they were talking about Caitlin Clark, but this time, there was a difference. I guess Sheryl Swoopes learned her lesson last time because this time around, she didn't fabricate information to tarnish Katie Rue Clark. Instead, she continued her trend of confusing people by picking up the woke shovel and saying something that can only be described as pure shit fuckery. Watch for yourself.
For people to come at me and say that I made those comments because I'm a racist, like, first of all, black people can't be racist, but, like, that's the farthest thing from my mind. Like, I grew up in a very small West Texas town, predominantly white. My best childhood friend is white, went to predominantly white college, won a national championship. Pretty much everyone on the team was white. Like, we're sisters to this day. Like that's not a part of my DNA.
I know I don't have a PhD from Woke U in the field of mythical racism. I have never studied under the tutelage of Joy Reid and Jamel Hill, although I do keep this lovely picture of Jamel Hill right here beside me on my desk. This face, this is the face that Smelly Jameli makes when she creates a new story of mythical racism. Anyway, I know I'm not an expert in the field, but last I checked, racism wasn't exclusive to white people. Someone please explain this to me, how black people can't be racist. I actually looked up the definition because there were people on Twitter who agreed with Sheryl Swoopes. Matter of fact, they said by looking up the definition, I would clearly understand how Sheryl Swoopes is right. So I looked it up. According to Google, racism is discrimination and prejudice against people based on their race or ethnicity. I didn't understand because nowhere in this definition did it say it was exclusive to one race. So I'm struggling to understand the logic here. Do I think Sheryl Swoopes is racist? No, absolutely not. But I look at this comment as kind of a Freudian slip. Just like I said last time when I said I think the mentality of Sheryl Swoopes when it comes to Caitlin Clark is a mentality that is likely prevalent throughout the WNBA. It's the same thing here. I think there are some people who believe that minorities can only be victims of racism, but they can't be racist themselves, which is confusing to me. I didn't think discrimination discriminated. I didn't think it was something exclusive. I didn't think this was something that could only be applied to white people. If a black person doesn't like me based only on the color of my skin, what would Sheryl Swoopes call that? I mean, that's never happened to me before. I have never been in that situation. But if I was, let's say a black cop pulls me over, and the only reason he pulls me over is because I'm a white guy driving through a black neighborhood. What would Sheryl Swoopes call that? She proceeded to dig the hole further by pulling the "I have white friends" card, or I think she might have said, "I grew up in a white school," which, that's fine. That's fine. Like I said, I don't think Sheryl Swoopes is racist. But what would the reaction be if the roles were reversed here? Let's assume for a second that someone like Dick Vitale fabricated his analysis of Angel Reese, just like Sheryl Swoopes did with Caitlin Clark. And the only reason I am using Dick Vitale here is because I couldn't think of another prominent voice in college basketball. But Dick Vitale, he's hit with the same level of outrage as Sheryl Swoopes. He privately apologizes to Angel Reese, and then 3 weeks later, he attempts to explain himself by saying the exact same thing Sheryl Swoopes said, except the roles are reversed here. What would the reaction be? For starters, more than likely, Dick Vitale wouldn't get the chance to explain himself because more than likely ESPN would have fired him on the spot for fabricating information in the first place. But you know, the reaction would be visceral when he tried to explain himself. And it's the same double standard that we talk about all the time here on the channel. I don't mind what Sheryl Swoopes said today with Gilbert Arenas. Matter of fact, I thought it was kind of amusing. I think she's full of shit. I didn't agree with her, but I don't mind that she said it. I'm not going to sit here and pretend to be outraged because Sheryl Swoopes had the audacity to say words. What I don't understand is why it doesn't seem to be applied like that both ways. There were also people on Twitter saying that Caitlin Clark is receiving biased treatment from the mainstream media. One person said, "I want to see this same level of media recognition if Juju gets the chance to break the scoring record." Yeah, that's unlikely to happen. Why? Because most people don't know who Juju is, myself included. Caitlin Clark is not receiving mainstream media recognition because she broke a scoring record. Caitlin Clark is receiving mainstream recognition because she's a star. It's the same reason that Angel Reese receives media coverage. Angel Reese is a star. Unfortunately, I have this feeling that Caitlin Clark is going to deal with shit like this for the rest of her career, probably only going to get worse once she is forced to leave professional basketball to play pretend basketball in the WNBA. But give me your thoughts on this. Sheryl Swoopes doubles down on the stupidity. She claims that black people can't be racist. Is that true? Is Sheryl Swoopes right? Let me know. Sound off in the comments below. Like, subscribe, share the video. I appreciate your support. Best way to contact me is by email at btlkc84@gmail.com, KC_BTL84 on Twitter. I'll see you guys tomorrow.